What's up, dude?
Hey, Nop, I got this exhaust all done. Put some cool cuts on it.
I like it. Right?
Pitched them down a little bit just to give it a nice little slant to it. That's pretty much it.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the shocking story of American Chopper. The well-known bike construction family dispersed, and the father lost millions of dollars, declared bankruptcy, and relocated to Florida, where his son founded his own prosperous design firm, but he and his younger brother hardly communicate. Battled addiction and turned to painting. The others followed their own trajectories, creating knives, repairing automobiles, and restoring antique motorcyclists. The altercations were genuine, and the consequences were more severe. Following the completion of the last cycle, Paul Tuttle Sr. and Paul Tuttle Sr. always appeared difficult on TV, but life was more difficult behind the scenes than anyone could imagine. Orange County Chopper's mustached founder had served in battles that most people didn't see coming to prominence. Lawsuits, bankruptcy, and a fresh start. His actual tale was much more chaotic than the born in Yonkers, New York. In 1949, Paul began building handmade bikes with his when he returned home from his time in the Merchant Marines during the Vietnam War. He founded a small welding. He started the company with just himself and a truck, but he eventually expanded it to include 70 employees, including motorcycles, were his love and pastime, which were sparked by the 1999 film Easy Rider. Created Orange County Choppers after deciding to make that love his business, and the decision transformed his life. When one of his bikes, True Blue, caught people's attention at a Daytona Discovery Channel's major motorbike event was noted, and in American Chopper, which debuted on television in 2002, wasn't only about motorcycles, it was regarding the turmoil between Paul Sr. and his son Paul Jr., which others were unable to understand. Every week, millions of people watched them construct bikes and yell at each other and still manage to complete incredible undertakings at the pinnacle of American. Although viewers enjoyed the drama on Discovery's most popular show, Chopper, they were blind to the true Paul Sr. was growing too quickly and had problems behind the cameras. He constructed an enormous headquarters in Newburgh, New York, featuring a cafe and showroom as well as although bowling alley had a striking appearance, the business wasn't profitable, couldn't maintain the image it was attempting to promote, and suddenly everything began to collapse. In 2017, Thomas Derbyshire filed a lawsuit against Paul Sr., alleging that he misappropriated $1.8 million intended for a new television show, according to court documents. Paul Sr. refused to work with contracted actors and took a personal vacation when he was meant to be filming, and conducted dubious business behind his partner's back. One instance even asserted in return for endorsing a brand on television, he handed his girlfriend free dog food. When Derbyshire accused Paul of covering his son Michael's income, things became even more ugly. Out of business funds without authorization, Paul Sr. refuted the charges. However, his finances were rapidly collapsing in early 2018, so he filed, according to his court documents, for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. He had more than $1 million. He had just about $2 million in assets but dollars in debt, earning roughly $15,000 per month at the time, but using nearly all of it to keep afloat. According to worst reports revealed that he was going to lose his enormous New York property and owing tens of thousands in taxes. As additional stories emerged, it became evident how serious the charges against Paul Sr. were. Unscrupulous business practices dating back years, such as moving firm assets to family members to evade debtors. The former reality TV star appeared. Paul Tuttle Sr. wasn't the kind to stay down in the dark, even if he might lose everything. He was able to sell his personal possessions and property in 2019 to pay off his debts. In contrast to many notable personalities who flee bankruptcy, he pledged to his attorney described paying the whole amount he owed as a proactive and wise decision rather than a. Paul Sr. chose to reinvent himself in 2021 rather than hide his defeat. He relocated to Florida, where he joined forces with Keith Overton, opening the OC Roadhouse and Museum. With a veteran of the hospitality business, wasn't just either a museum or a restaurant, it was a complete entertainment complex with a huge bicycle memorabilia, a concert pavilion, and a restaurant area. Families poured in as they staged a massive celebration to kick it off, complete with live music and motorcycles. For Paul, the Roadhouse became a new symbol of celebration, demonstrating that he could still attract customers and that there was still life in the Orange County Choppers brand. In contrast to American Chopper, he now sold experiences rather than just bikes. Returned in 2018 as well, with Discovery Channel bringing the program back for Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. are the subject of another season that aims to repair both The return assisted Paul in regaining access to the enterprises and their strained relationship. Public eye and allowed him to share his perspective. Paul Sr. isn't leading the ostentatious life that people previously thought he would have. Is just around $500,000, a small fraction of the multimillion-dollar enterprise he once owned. However, he continues to stand, create, and do things his way. He has been with his long-term girlfriend, Joan Beaulier Kay, for over 10 years, despite the fact that his connection with despite his struggles, Paul Jr. maintains a close relationship with his other children, particularly his daughter. In New York, Kristen is employed as a pediatric nurse. Paul Tuttle Jr. was born in Montgomery, New York, on October 2, 1974, and had no intention of becoming well-known, but for most individuals, life had other plans. He's the man from Custom Motorcycles became a part of American mainstream culture because to the TV show American Chopper, but the millions even the gleaming motorcycles only reveal a portion of the agonizing tale that lies beneath it all. Battled his own father's court battles, addiction, and unyielding resolve in order to start over, Paul Jr. learned how to ride a bike at the age of 12, how to handle steel at Orange County Iron Works, his father's business, he developed a talent over the years that few could match, and by 1999, Paul Jr. and his when fathers joined forces to start Orange County Choppers, the timing was ideal. The popularity of motorbikes was set to soar, and Paul's inventive designs, such as the Fire Bike and the Black Widow, millions of people watched American Chopper every week, attracting attention. To observe the bikes and the altercations, the world observed the conflict between father and in 2009, it eventually exploded in front of the cameras after getting worse and worse. After a heated disagreement, Sr. fired his own son, but the true conflict was about Jr., who held 20% of the business, claimed that his father had exploited OCC's litigation for personal luxury spending began to spin out of control, with Sr. even attempting to coerce Jr. into give up his portion of the company. They ultimately reached a private settlement. But a clause in the agreement was for a while, Brutal Jr. was unable to develop motorcycles, his career was Paul Jr. was imprisoned exactly when he needed it most, but he wasn't going to give up. He established Paul Jr. Designs on April 1, 2010, it wasn't a large enterprise merely there were 7 workers and a lot of pressure, but it was an intriguing new beginning. His initial design was a dog park for his hometown, which demonstrated that he wasn't interested in motorcycles. Simply a bike enthusiast, he could construct about anything from there. Sold 12,000 units after redesigning a Coleman grille to resemble a bike engine. Using steel salvaged from the World Trade Center's ruins, he constructed a memorial bike that raised more than he made bikes in the shape of excavator buckets to raise $1 million for charity. Encourage utility line safety. Each project showcased a different aspect of Paul Jr.'s abilities, and by 2024, his designs had constructed 47 unique motorcycles for customers, including Geco Cadillac, and even united his ideas for the U.S. military today range in price from $150,000 to $500,000, and he had even begun repairing vintage vehicles in a beautiful despite his accomplishment in 1939. Lincoln Zephyr was still plagued by the shadow of his past. Never far behind, Paul Jr. made a comeback to television in 2012 with American Chopper. Viewers of Sr. vs. Jr. enjoyed it, although one episode rekindled old scars. The hostility was still as acute when Sr. criticized one of Jr.'s designs, claiming it was over-engineered. Jr. revealed on his podcast that there were some minor indications of recovery in 2021. It was their first time meeting outside of business since his father attended his son Hudson's birthday celebration. Although there wasn't a complete reconciliation in 2015, there was something Jr. acknowledged in his book The Build that he faced struggles in his personal life as well. that in order to meet the crazy deadlines during the OC days, he frequently relied on narcotics. When high on Vicodin, welled for 18 hours straight before getting married in 2010. He changed his life after becoming a Christian, and his brother Michael did the same. Joined him at PJD when Junior was dismissed and left OC, although their father never, even when Michael returned to OC years later, the scars were easily forgiven. Being a father profoundly altered Paul Jr., and his son Hudson was born in 2015 prompted him to begin giving to groups that promote veterans and mental health. Started contributing tens of thousands of dollars to charities he cared about by giving the proceeds from his company's items. As the firm expanded, PJD introduced a clothing line that generated over $2 million. In 2024, 250,000 people listened to his podcast each month. Even put special constructions for veterans up for sale using his fame, earning nearly $1 million. But despite in a 2024 interview, Junior said that despite all the prosperity, certain things didn't get better. Since their most recent argument about a bike design, he and his father had yet to communicate. He stated, "Dad and I haven't spoken. I'll always give him credit for teaching me grit, even after the ABC supply fiasco." Mikey Tuttle was raised in a metal-heavy environment and born in Suffern, New York. On November 26, 1978, he began working when he was barely 14 years old. He began working at his father Paul Tuttle's Sirer Schronwerks company. Performed menial tasks like taking out the trash and answering phones, and nobody could have predicted that years later he'd become well known on national television after Orange County choppers grew. Everything changed for the family when they started making custom motorcycles. When the television program American Chopper debuted in 2003, viewers were captivated by it. During all of it, Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. got into heated disputes. Mikey was the laid-back, humorous sibling who made people laugh and was adored by his followers. But not many understood that Mikey was subtly fighting for. In an interview years later, Mikey expressed his father's approval, saying, "I always wanted my father's blessing." Receiving it from your father makes you feel his drive for self-worth influenced many of his later decisions during the show's most important for years. The store made millions of dollars in Orange County, not only motorcycles. Choppers became a $30 million company that sold t-shirts, bikes, and even toys. Mickey occasionally assisted with bike construction, even building his own in season 3. However, Mikey always felt like an outsider in comparison to Paul Jr.'s abilities. Producers capitalized on that perception by portraying him as the endearing loser beside his irascible father, which made viewers support him even more. But behind the scenes, life wasn't always simple. Laughs and smiles. Mikey fought alcoholism in December 2009, when he went into rehab. A scene that was depicted on the show That Step Transformed Everything signaled the start of his gradual exit from OC. Mikey and the show as well as the family company. He launched the Wolfgang Gallery in 2010 after deciding to reinvent himself. He began creating abstract art in Montgomery, New York, using vibrant colors and aggressive brushstrokes. In a video tour, he described with unadulterated passion, "I begin with a blank canvas, then use paint to create forms." Expressing unadulterated passion. His paintings previously brought in several $1,000s each. The Hudson Valley's fans and art collectors' interest over time, Wolfgang Gallery evolved from a personal endeavor to a community venue where regional artists now work. Could display their art as well, but financial issues arose, as they do in many tiny galleries. The gallery had quietly closed by 2025, yet Mikey continued to list himself as the proprietor on the internet. Mikey went one step further and founded a business named in 2010, Michael and Jello LLC. Sold humorous t-shirts, posters, and even establishing Far Q Products, his own line of pasta sauces, which has elegant truffle flavors that paid homage to his Italian heritage, but they vanished from stores a few years later. In the meantime, his shirts continued to be fashionable, and some designs sold for a lot of money on resale websites. As a side endeavor, he formed a children's music band with an instructor called Jello and Michael, whose songs emphasized multicultural themes. Despite Mikey's continued busy schedule, the band disbanded by 2016 owing to financial difficulties. Fought a protracted battle to remain sober following his 2009 treatment, concentrating on in 2025. Mikey revealed on a webcast that removing his beard represented "I wanted a fresh start," and his candor about his addiction made a distinction. He attempted to utilize his experience to assist by working with rehab facilities. Others, but his mental health suffered greatly as a result of his fame in 2024. According to the documentary The Tragic Life of Mikey Tuttle, he battled years of anxiety and sadness exacerbated by being scrutinized by the public, and he discreetly left reality TV in 2012, stating that he didn't want to continue. He kept his relationship with his father intact by forcing himself to remain in the spotlight. Following the termination of American Chopper in 2015, Paul Sr. even charged Mikey with Mikey retaliated by squandering chances in court paperwork and accusing his father's domineering methods of suppressing creativity, yet some wounds were healed with time. Paul Jr. and Mikey collaborated to create a dog park in Montgomery, demonstrating that family bonds may endure, at least temporarily. Mikey continues to find new ways to stay in the past while maintaining a lower profile. He participated in the Dallas Art Fair in 2024 and displayed collaborative pieces, alongside Catherine Kempowski, a surrealist painter, at his 2025 exhibition River Songs centered on addiction and rehabilitation, with a portion of the proceeds donated to charity that support rehabilitation. Rick Petco, never born in a tiny area, he structured his life around metal rather than cameras in pursuit of stardom. He discovered his vocation early in 1968 in Pennsylvania, and at the age of 18, he began working as one of the hardest places to learn precision is working as a crane operator at Bethlehem Steel. Every cut he made had to be flawless, there was no space for mistakes, and that discipline followed him throughout his life. Long after attending a welding school, he learned the type of. By the early 1990s, he discovered high-skilled work employed in race cars and airplanes. Himself creating lightweight steel frames for NASCAR vehicles were more powerful and quick than any teams had previously seen before. His work turned all Rick cared about was making vehicles win races, even though it wasn't particularly ostentatious. After that, he worked on industrial furnaces and kilns for over 10 years. He developed a method to line furnaces that extended their lifespan in order to handle temperatures that may melt those who were not equipped, saving businesses millions of dollars. Once more, with hard work and little fanfare, Rick gained a profound awareness of how metal breathes during those years when it was done correctly. Stretches and rests in the heat, a lesson he would subsequently apply to the custom motorcycles. The cameras were rolling when Rick joined Orange County Choppers in 2003.